I'm driving her to go to Atlanta to spend some time with her friends and a good, good close friend of ours. As we're driving, I get a buzz from Bruce, and Bruce is like, "Hey man, hey Kirk, we want to keep you for 2 years." And I was like, "Wow!" So it was an incredible opportunity for me. But the one thing was, it was 3 days before training camp, so I didn't have a lot of time to really, get my daughter settled in and things like that. So I was in a mad scramble trying to make sure she was getting ready for school and all that stuff. So it was for the veterans and the guys who have been there. So it's kind of tough to say about him and Tom Brady. I don't really know that dynamic, but you got to think that most NFL players are young men. They're not normally guys who are 35 or older. They're young men, and I imagine with Tom being 43, that it might have been a little bit of pushing and shoving because Tom has been around the NFL as a player for over 20 years. Bruce has been around for a long time, so I'm sure there was a little back and forth there, but they seem to have it right now, and they have the opportunity to win a Super Bowl with one of the oldest quarterbacks who ever played, and then also a gentleman who really didn't get his head coaching start until later. So I can imagine that dynamic was kind of off the chain sometimes, but like I said, they got it right. So that's the main thing. But I thought they did a good job with the younger players.
I have an off-the-wall question about Coach Arians, and I was talking with Kelly Nash, my buddy down the hall from WCOS, and
okay.
he wanted to know about Bruce Arians and the hats, man. What's up with Coach Arians and the almost beret type hats? And did he give you one of them?
No, I never got one of those hats, but I'm telling you, man, Bruce was one of the coolest coaches of all time. He used to wear those little, I call them Kangos. He used to wear those Kango hats when I was with the Cardinals. And he wore well, man. He just had he really has a great style about him. I mean, very well dressed, very well put together, a gentleman's gentleman. And he was just cool with it. I don't know if I can pull off hats, to be honest with you. I never really liked hats, but
well,
he does a good
you
job.
and I share one thing in common. We've got big heads.
Yeah.
So that's not,
Yeah.
the hats just look kind of silly on us.
Yeah, my dad, man, I remember when I was even younger, man, my dad would always try to make me wear a hat. And I just hated wearing hats. And, in coaching, you kind of have to wear hats. I used to wear the visors. I was okay with wearing a visor. But, if I didn't put sunscreen on, I stopped peeling. But I absolutely hated wearing hats. I really did. So, but Bruce wears it well, man. I'm telling you. He's probably one of the best dressed coaches you'll ever see in the NFL.
I'm shocked that he pulls off the hats. And the reference Kelly Nash gave me was he looks like he could have been someone that was running around with Neo Brown in New Jack City, which just made me laugh.
He just seems like one of them old. He just has that cool soul about him. Like, he might have been hanging around the Temptations or someone like that.
Yeah,
that's the kind of guy he appears to me, that he can hang around with the fellas.
Yeah,
and it's really kind of cool to see because it's authentic. It's not fake. And I always say, as long as somebody's authentic, it's cool. But when they're not and it comes across fake, it's kind of irritating. But he never came across as fake. Like I said before, he's really authentic with his personality, and he doesn't apologize for it. And everybody doesn't have that quality.
That's true. Well, let's talk a little bit about the game really quick here. Of course, the matchup, the Buccaneers and Kansas City going at it. The coaching matchup there, I mean, you've got two kind of brilliant offensive minds with Coach Arians and Andy Reid. But Andy Reid is interesting in that the way that he can relate to players, even being as old as he is, he still gets the job done. And you feel like just the vibe that they have from him is that, man, he's the coolest guy in the room. And they just go out there and just play really hard for him.
I had the opportunity and the privilege to play under Andy Reid my last year. And I'm going to have to say, man, as much as a big fan I am of Bill Cowher and Bruce Arians, I love playing for Andy Reid. I really did. I enjoy playing for Andy Reid because he's not this rah-rah guy or anything like that. He's going to treat you like a professional. And I really love that about him. Not that Bill Cowher or Bruce Arians doesn't do it, but Andy Reid really does it. And as far as offense is concerned, he is very creative, but I think he's like a really good high school coach. And what I mean by that is he uses his personnel to their best, whatever their traits are or whatever they can do, he does it. And I always say a good high school coach, he plays to his talent, points him to play to. So you got a running team that year, you have a running team. But if you have a passing team, you have a passing team. And I think he displays that every Sunday. And he's always coming up with a nice little wrinkle to complement something that you saw on tape. So you'll see this formation and you think like, oh, they're going to do this. But they do something opposite of that. Or they do something that relates to it, but not quite there. They did a lot of shuffle passing the other game. And I'm like, wow, okay, you really don't see that. So I think that he does a good job of creating him with Eric Bieniemy, and he plays to his players' strength. And that's what you look for in a coach. And he treats his guys like professionals, like they should be treated. And anytime a coach does that, especially on that level, guys are they're gonna respond to him, and they're gonna respect them. And I always say the professional player is not the one you have to motivate to play. They want to play. They want to play well. They're the smartest guys. They're the hardest working guys. But what they need is they need a good coach to guide them. And I think Andy Reid does a really great job of guiding men to play the game at his highest level.
He is just great with some of the stuff that he does and little wrinkles and stuff that you talk about. Just really, really cool. I want to get into the Tom Brady factor here, and I know it sounds like I'm just a hater of Tom Brady, but it seems to me that a lot of times when the Buccaneers win, they do it a lot with the defense. Of course, you've got Ndamukong Suh clogging up the middle, Jason Pierre-Paul. They have guys that can get to the quarterback. They made Aaron Rodgers look somewhat human in the NFC Championship game up at Green Bay. And Brady's a great quarterback, don't get me wrong, but he threw 3 interceptions and came out of there with a win. But what do you think he brings to Tampa Bay? And is he the starting point here for the Bucs?
Well, honestly, I agree with you. I think that the Bucs, their defense, carried them last game. They did, and they didn't have their starting safeties either, which I thought was phenomenal. I think their front 4 or their front 7 is really good. I think they can get after the quarterback without really doing a lot of blitzing, but Todd Bowles, he's going to bring the heat. And he's going to let Patrick Mahomes know that they're going to be there all day. But I think this is the kind of defense that can give Kansas City some problems, especially up front. So that's a defense that I look to see. They're going to play well. I really feel that way. As far as Tom Brady's concerned, I think when you go to like 10 Super Bowls or you go to 10 Super Bowls and you're known as the GOAT, guys step their game up and they're going to play well because they want to play up to their level. They want what Tom brings to the table, and he brings that championship pedigree. And when you bring that to the table, especially at quarterback, guys will follow you because he's been there, done that. Tampa Bay they're new to this stage, but Tom brings that energy that I think that will lead the other guys to play on another level than they played before. So I don't think it's his quarterbacking. I don't think he's as good as he used to be, but he's still probably better than a lot of guys. So if you were going to bet on a quarterback who can get it done at this age, you would have to go with Tom and what he's done. I mean, he's had a remarkable career, and you got to give him his kudos. You got to give him his credit. I mean, guy has played tremendously, and to be this age and to lead a team to a Super Bowl is remarkable.
I tell you what, man, you're a better person than I am, because if I were Levon Kirkland, I would have been like, of course, Rob, it's that defense. That's what brought them there. Though. I know, but I just thought you would have been a little more over the top with it, because the 4 or 5 games of Tampa Bay I've watched from stem to stern this year, I've just seen more of, man, that defense is really good, and man, Leonard Fournette sure does make Tom Brady look really good. That's what I get from the Tampa Bay team.
I'm with you on a lot of that. I just probably didn't do it. I didn't do the Ric Flair the Tampa Bay defense.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, I would tell anybody that Tampa Bay defense has been the thing that has carried them. And I'm a big Todd Bowles fan, and I know what he can do on that defensive side. And so he's going to come up with something really great. But, I think a lot of us get into putting the quarterbacks, giving them a little bit too much credit for wins and losses.
That's true.
I think we just do that. We don't realize this is a team game, and that the quarterback doesn't do it by himself. And especially in this case, if it wasn't for the defense, man, they would have been out a long time ago.
Yeah.
And they had to go to the Redskins. I mean, not the Redskins, but the Washington football team. That was a tough out for them. So they had a little rough there. They really did, but they got there. That's what really matters. But yeah, anybody who knows a little bit about football would tell you Tom Brady is not carrying this team like perhaps he carried some of those New England teams that he had back in the day.
Watch us talk about him like that now, and he goes out and throws for, I don't know, 304 touchdowns and, just coast into another Super Bowl win. That's the way things would work out. But let's look at it from the other perspective with Pat Mahomes. If Coach Arians called you today and said, look, my defensive coordinator is going to be out, I need you to figure out how to stop Pat Mahomes. Would you run stuff at him, beat him up a little bit, or would you play a lot of zone? And no one's really figured that out yet, but what's the best way to kind of contain Patrick Mahomes?
Well, I think either way it's going to be tough, but I would, because you have such a good front four, I would try to see if we can get some rush with the front four. We'll do some games as far as what they have up front. We will show some looks. We will disguise. But the key with Patrick Mahomes is you cannot let Kelsey run these backyard routes that he runs. And if you really look at him closely, that's what he does a lot of times. He kind of plays off Patrick Mahomes. So playing in a conventional zone or man, Kelsey finds a way to break off the route. You may have the route covered, but he'll break it off in some kind of fashion. If you bring too much heat, he's usually the hot route. And when he catches the ball and he's going upfield, I'm telling you, he is a dangerous tight end. I would have to dare say that he's probably the best tight end in the league. So, you got to mix it up a little bit on the chin. You got to make sure that he's seeing some pressure and that sometimes he's seeing too much. You can't just say, okay, we're going to sit here and cover 2 or cover 3 because I think he'll eat that up. Or you can't just blitz him to death because he'll eat that up too. So I think you got to make sure that you're changing things around, and if you can get him, in 2nd and 15, 3rd and 15, you have a better shot. But he's a unique talent in that he can make things happen that other quarterbacks just can't. He has an arm talent that we haven't seen in quite a long time, and he improvises very well. So it's a tough thing to beat, but I say, hey, let's get in these guys' face. Let's disguise it. Let's show him some looks. Let's give him some different things to try to throw him off his game. Because if you sit back there and you try to play conventional, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. If you blitz just normally, you're going to be in a lot of trouble. So you got to show some different looks. You got to mix it up a little bit. If you don't do that, then it's not going to be easy for you.
Well, and my final couple of questions here with Levon Kirkland, of course, from the Pittsburgh Steelers, the Clemson Tigers, coach with Bruce Arians, who's now leading his team into the Super Bowl this weekend. There's a lot of talk about Deshaun Watson trying to force a trade down in Houston. Back when you played, things just really didn't come out like that. And do you agree with the way that Watson is trying to get out of Houston, or do you think that he should, hey, you signed this contract in September, it's February now, what's changed? Do you feel that way, or do you think he should be let go from Houston?
If I'm a Houston Texans, I'm not trying to let him go anywhere.
Yeah.
I am not going to say whether he should or should not want to leave or demand a trade because, quite frankly, he has the leverage to do that. And that's the reason why he's doing it. You only do that when you have the leverage. So he definitely has the leverage. So I'm not telling him to do one thing or the other because we don't know what's happening inside that team.
Right.
And I think you have to, and I'm always a guy that never talks about another player or say, well, he should do this and he should do that. Every person has the right to do what they feel is right. So so that's not an issue for me. I think as a team, though, I'm not trying to let you go anywhere. You're our best player. And quarterbacks, you just can't fill them in like that.
Right.
Quarterbacks are not a dime a dozen. When you find a really good quarterback, a franchise guy, you try to keep that guy.
Right.
So I'm going to be in there like, yo, and I'm talking to him plain and simple. What do we have to do to keep you here?
Yeah.
Where did we go wrong that you want to leave? We're going to, Deshaun, we think you're going to be a Hall of Famer, and we're going to try to surround you with the best talent we can possibly surround you with. What are we not doing that you want to leave? What's not making you happy? I would ask them, what can we do? Because I wouldn't want to let him go. Would you want to let him go as a quarterback?
No, no, absolutely not. No, I completely agree with you on that. But you mentioned when you have what was the term you did when you have the advantage? Can you explain that? I mean, because in my opinion, I don't like the idea of having someone on the team that is not completely in the boat of, hey, we're going to do everything we can to win. If you don't want to be there, then don't be there. But you mentioned that he has the advantage as far as being able to do that with the Texans. What do you mean by that? Because they've got him under contract for like 3 more seasons. So just explain that to me so I can understand it.
Well, when you have a player that's really uber talented like a Deshaun, I've been giving myself an advantage for a conversation. When I was doing my 3rd contract with the Pittsburgh Steelers, I had 2 Pro Bowls under my belt, was considered the best linebacker in the league at that time. So when we were doing our negotiation, I really had the leverage. I was like, yo, and my agent called me and he's like, well, we're close. I told my agent, I don't want to hear about me being close. I said, the next time you call me, I want it to be said that it's done. We got the contract. We know the market. We know my value. Go get it done. We're not accepting. I could do that because I was a really good player. I was one of the best players in the NFL. So I had some leverage. And so as a player, you really don't have a lot of leverage. Most guys don't have leverage where they can dictate the terms of what they're going to do. And I know people will say, well, it is a contract, but if they wanted to cut him because they didn't like what he won that day, most times they can cut him, right?
Right. Yeah, that makes sense.
So as a player, when you have leverage, he has leverage because he's so good. And he knows that somebody will be willing to trade for him. So that's why he's making the demands that he's making, because he can. Simply that. If he couldn't, he wouldn't. So that's why he's doing that regardless of the contract, what it says, because they do the same thing. If you're an NFL team, can cut you most likely at any time they want to cut you, no matter what.
Well, I tell you what, man, it kind of breaks it out a little bit for me there. But let me ask you before we get you out of here, do you have a pick for this weekend's game? Las Vegas likes the Chiefs -3.5. I'm not asking you to pick against the spread, but who do you think is going to win in this matchup down in Tampa Bay?
Man, I think this is going to be a good game. I'm looking forward to watching it because I feel in my heart it will be a good game. You never know. I mean, it could be a blowout one way or the other. But if everything remains equal, I think this is going to be a very good game. It's going to be a back-and-forth game. I feel that, my heart, I want Tampa Bay to win. I would like to see Bruce get a Super Bowl. And some of the other coaches that I know that are there, I would like to see them win it. But my head is telling me Kansas City.
Yeah.
I just think that they're a juggernaut on offense. I compare them to like a Golden State Warriors in their, not so long ago heyday. You knew when you were watching the basketball game that, God, Golden State can score. They can score at any time. If I'm the Cleveland Cavaliers, I'm wondering, can we keep up with them? And I feel that's the same way with the Kansas City Chiefs and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Will Tampa Bay be able to slow them down and keep up with them? I don't know if they can slow them down, but I think it will be close, and I think it'll be a 3-point game.
All right, man. Levon, once again, man, I appreciate you joining us here on The Rundown. Tell folks where they can find your podcast and some of the other great stuff that you do, man.
Well, if you're looking for the Inside Blitz with Levon Kirkland, and this is the nonprofit with the South Carolina Football Hall of Fame, you can find us at www.scfootball, spelled out, HOF.org.
All right.
So you podcast, you can find our page, everything we do to try to uplift the state of South Carolina. You know, of course, I'm on Facebook, and LinkedIn, and then I'm also on Twitter. I think my Twitter handle is at Levon_Kirkland44.
All right, Levon. Hey, man, thanks for coming on and breaking down the Super Bowl for us, man. As always, I appreciate it. There's always a seat for you here whenever you're in Columbia, and we'd love to have you on the rundown.
Oh, man, anytime. Thank you so much for inviting me. I appreciate it.
All right, Levon. Thanks so much, buddy. Have a great day.
You do the same.
All right, there we go. Levon Kirkland joining us on the rundown here on Fox Sports Radio 1400, breaking down the Super Bowl. Good stuff there from Levon Kirkland. I like what he said about Coach Arians. So, and obviously he's one of the few people that coached under Coach. I don't know if there's anybody else that's done that, to be honest with you. Coached under Coach Arians and played for Coach Reed. So there you go with that. Anyway, we're going to get you set up for the rest of the Super Bowl here when we come back. Got a couple other little notes for you. We'll talk about that a lot more in just a moment on the rundown. This is Fox Sports Radio 1400. Who I think he was talking to. You're funny, guys. You guys are hilarious over there. I do. I've got 3 cats and 2 dogs. Yep. I'm going to catch grief from people about this, but I'm more of a cat guy. I like my cats. I'm not against my dogs, but I don't know. Cats are just cooler to me, man. Like, if you feed a dog, it'll be your best friend forever. Cats have to choose you. It's really different. It's like my cats are the coolest. I think they're the coolest animals on earth. But if I brought you to my house, my German Shepherd would be like, all right, that guy's cool. My Australian Shepherd, that guy's cool. My cats, on the other hand, would be looking at you like, what are you doing? You have to earn the affection of a cat. So, in fact, I kind of believe one of my cats, even though they've hadn't, how old is Harambe? Is probably my favorite cat, but she's still a kitten, to be honest with you. And she doesn't like anyone touching her. It's just weird, you know? Whereas my other 2 cats are more laid back. So there's that. I catch grief about that with people asking me about, thinking that, oh, it's kind of a wussy thing to have cats. Is it really? A lot of guys, like in smack talk groups and stuff like that, they'll run their mouth to me about, only a woman will have a cat. You're a crazy cat dude. Whatever. I like my cats. I ain't gonna lie. I used to have a bunch of guinea pigs. I'm not buying that, Tom. My cat NASA, man. NASA's waiting for me at the door every day. Seriously. Well, okay, so we're just going by girth here that they can actually pull you out. Come on, man. Open your mind. You should get a cat. Cats are good for you. That's funny, though. Maybe I just like to be different. maybe that's what it is. I'm gonna get my Red Bull. Watermelon Red Bull today, ladies and gentlemen. Welcome back. Welcome back to the Rundown on Fox Sports Radio 1400 around the world on the iHeartRadio app. I'm Rob Sanders. It is a, Super Bowl Friday. I think I can say that without getting in trouble. Anyway, the NFL has like such a big thing on you can't use, but I'm talking about the game. So there you go. I'm not trying to monetize the Super Bowl and make money off of it. I'm just talking about the game today. So that matchup on Sunday night, we'll have our best prop bet picks for you momentarily. I did want to bring up in this segment about Deshaun Watson. There's talk now that he may be the Carolina Panthers may be a dark horse to get Deshaun Watson. Yeah. Check out this comment. This is from Ian Rappaport.
They now are still searching for their next franchise quarterback. From what I understand, their best two options are try to get Deshaun Watson. They really are best described as a dark horse, a really intriguing potential location for Deshaun Watson if the Houston Texans actually decide to trade him, which they haven't yet, or they still have a top 10 pick doing a lot of work on the draft, guys. I would not be surprised if they end up selecting a quarterback very early in this coming draft.
All right, well, there you go with that. He thinks they're a dark horse for that. If you're a Carolina Panthers fan, let me help you out on this. The only thing the Panthers have to offer is the 8th pick in this year's draft and Teddy Bridgewater. And after watching Teddy Bridgewater last season, I don't know if the Houston Texans are going to want to do that. If you go back to what Levon Kirkland just said about, hey, if I'm the Texans, I'm not going to let him go. Completely understand that. Completely get it. But if they do decide that they're like, you know what, this guy's going to be a problem. And what I mean by a problem, don't come at me, Clemson fans. That Rob sounds good. Upset because I said Deshaun Watson could be a problem. He's been an outstanding player, outstanding person. I'm not ripping the guy. What I mean is that could be a problem on the front of he may not want to be there. Okay? So if they want to go ahead and trade him, then I don't know if it's going to be to the Panthers because I don't know if they have enough, to be completely honest with you. They have the 8th pick this year and Teddy Bridgewater. Now, if you can throw in, and Panthers fans don't want to hear this because they have visions in their head of Deshaun Watson making plays with his feet and Christian McCaffrey doing things off of the end of Deshaun Watson's arm there. So there you go with that. I don't think they're going to put McCaffrey into the mix. But if I'm the Houston Texans and I can get a Christian McCaffrey and the 8th pick this year and Teddy Bridgewater, I would start putting the Deshaun Watson jerseys on clearance in the fan store down there at Houston Stadium. I really would. Because then you open up a ton of things. What I mean by that is that you get those picks. You do end up picking up McCaffrey's contract. You lose Watson's contract. Yes, I know you don't have a quarterback, but as of right now, he doesn't want to play there. So you don't have a quarterback now. I would go in through that if they would do that. Now, but to be honest with you, there are other teams that could offer you more. They really could. But as far as established players go, since we're throwing out things that teams could give up for Deshaun Watson, yeah, if I'm if I'm the general manager up there for the Panthers, I can dab a Christian McCaffrey, who, let's be honest, not this year, but the year before, on a pitiful Panthers team, had over 100 receptions and over 1,000 yards rushing. That, my friends, is really good. Now, he has been injured. And if I'm on the front of the Panthers, I can be like, you know what, he didn't really play last year much. And maybe he's getting to the point now where you're getting into that age of the running backs where it's like, maybe not so much. And to be honest, Christian McCaffrey is kind of he's not a big bowling type running back. He's more of I don't want to use the term speed back because he can do so many different things. But the reality is that the player that he isn't going to last as long in the NFL as Deshaun Watson is. So you could say that as a Panthers fan. But if the Panthers want to get him, that's what they're going to have to do. If you want to talk about that, 803-978-1832. Tom online says C-Mac screwed me in his fantasy draft last year. Yeah, a lot of people. Like the guy talking into this microphone now who drafted him number 1 overall. My fantasy teams were terrible last year. Now, I'm not saying that as something vivid out there to make the Panthers fans want to trade him. No, I'm just saying from the perspective of that's your biggest trade piece in my mind. And you can get rid of Teddy Bridgewater's contract too. And the number 8 pick. So there's that. All right, if you have an idea of what each team should give up or who do you think he's going to end up with, I think he's going to hold out and hang around in Houston. He'll be there to finish up training camp, which, by the way, if you're going to hold out through training camp. You already know the offense and everything else anyway. Pay the $200,000 in fines because they're paying you so much money anyway, and train at home. There's my advice to Deshaun Watson. That's why I'm not an agent. 803-978-1832, 803-978-1832 is the number to call. We'll have some prop bets for you in the final segment of the rundown today. You're listening to Fox Sports Radio 1400. You know, the transfer thing is right. And I'm not sure that Shane Beamer got the best transfers because you never know. But transfers can be like gold, man. Because you've got guys that have already been in a college program that are on the weight program. If you just look at the 2 kids from St. Francis, both of those guys put on 20 pounds of muscle in college. You're getting those guys, and you didn't have to put any money into them to get them developed. I know that sounds silly, but it's true. So, I don't know. Brock, what up? Jets for 3 first, second, Darnold, and another complimentary piece. Tom's just like, we'll rename the team after you. We'll call them the New York Texans. Oh, goodness. All right, I got my prop bets ready. You guys follow along over there. Final segment of the show today here on the Rundown. I've got strange prop bets for the Super Bowl. I'm going to give you my picks for these. Some of these are, you're going to have a hard time finding a place to make a wager on them, but these are some interesting prop bets. So why don't we start with Super Bowl commercial prop bets? Which Anheuser-Busch brand commercial will air first? Bud Light Seltzer Lemonade, Michelob Ultra, or Michelob Ultra Organic Seltzer? Is that really a thing? Wait, what? I got nothing on that. I'm going to go with the Seltzer Lemonade. So there's that. They're not doing a Budweiser commercial this year. Normally you got like the big Clydesdale horses or whatever. You're not going to have that this year. So I think they're going to go with the Seltzer Lemonade. So there's that. How many commercials will have dogs in them? Over 4.5 or under 4.5? I'm going with the under. Tom likes Bud Light over there in the chat room. I'll give you some of the results from the chat room. I'm going with the under there for under 4.5. How many commercials will show a person wearing a mask? So with this is going to be kind of tough. Because you may have somebody wearing, if they're just talking about like a coronavirus mask, like the face mask, I don't know. Over 2.5, I'd probably take the over just because I think they want to relate with people. So the over 2.5 makes a lot of sense. Will an M&M Spokes candy be wearing a mask? Yes, the M&Ms will be wearing a mask. I'll take that. Who will speak first in Frito-Lay's pregame commercial? Peyton Manning or Eli Manning? Peyton Manning's going to talk before Eli. I think that's pretty interesting in its own right. Will Jerry Rice make a paper football field goal in a Frito-Lay's commercial? What? Yeah or no? Okay, we'll go with that. Will there be a COVID vaccine commercial? I don't know about y'all, man. I'm tired of talking about COVID. Please don't show me a COVID vaccine commercial in the middle of the Super Bowl. I feel like with my job here, I've got to watch the Super Bowl, but I'd rather I've talked about this. I'd rather watch Andy Griffith reruns. If my team's not playing, I'm so upset that Green Bay did not make the Super Bowl. Why would I want to watch a game where only 25,000 people are going to play? There's a pirate boat in the end zone, and my team's not playing in it. Just saying. Crazy. Tom says, here's what I want to know. Who will call all 3 timeouts first in the first half? That's a good question. Maybe Andy Reid. I'd go with that. Total number of commercials aired during the Super Bowl, over 92.5 or under? I'm going to go with the under. I think they'll have more 60-second spots instead of 30s, or 15-second spots instead of 30s. So that I don't know. I think it'll be under. My math may be wrong today. Super Bowl Gatorade shower prop bets. Orange, pink, or red, yellow, lime green, blue, clear, and purple. It's plus 900 for purple. Why not bet a couple of bucks on that and see if you can cash out? So there's that. What players will pour Gatorade on the winning coach? Defensive, offensive, or both? Well, the easy answer is both. Super Bowl MVP post-game. Who will the MVP refer to in his first speech? Teammates, God or religion, USA, the winning city, family, coaches, or the team owner? Wouldn't it be great if the guy who won the MVP stepped up there and said, yeah, the season's over now, but shout out to the strippers at the strip club down the street. I'll be down there partying later on. That would be great. Post-game celebration that everyone would be a part of and would laugh. Will the MVP say Disney in his speech? Yes or no? Will Burger be said by Andy Reid? Some of these are really great. Will any player propose to his girlfriend on the field after the game? I'm going with a hard no here, simply because the NFL is not letting anybody near the field. In fact, if you go to the game, they give you a full, like, I think they called it a PPE kit, where you'll have gloves and a mask and a face shield and sanitizers and wipes, the whole 9 yards. They're going to have all that for you. So the idea of getting anywhere near the field is priceless. Priceless. Will Joe Biden call to congratulate the winning coach? Yes or no? Man, they got to bring that into it. I don't know whether President Biden's going to do that or not. But there you go. There's some of the great silly prop bets. A couple of the other ones. Will the team that wins the coin toss win the game? You can get that into the mix too. And my buddy Tyler Crowder with the best line yesterday. Is it going to be heads or tails on the coin toss? Hey, that's a 50-50 bet right there. That's the one prop bet you got to take. Your chances are outstanding. It's 50-50 just on the coin toss, ladies and gentlemen. Have at it, man. That'll be the best one, in my opinion, to go after. All right, so next week, we're going to have football pretty much behind us. We'll talk some college stuff because we always try to bring whatever college football stuff comes to us. But next week, we're going to pivot a little bit. We're going to get into some basketball because this weekend, 2 big games for both Clemson and South Carolina. Clemson, of course, won over North Carolina earlier this week. Are they completely off the mat? Have they gotten themselves up, dusted themselves off, and are playing like the number 12 team in the country? We'll find out because they play Syracuse tomorrow at Littlejohn at 2:00. By the time that game is in the second half, South Carolina will be started with their matchup with Mississippi State. If the Gamecocks have dusted themselves off, you feel like South Carolina has the potential to be pretty good, but you don't know yet because they just hadn't put it together yet. They could be a team that may not make the tournament, but they could sure spoil a lot of people's hopes in the February march here towards Selection Sunday. So South Carolina and Mississippi State, that'll be an interesting matchup tomorrow. So we'll have full reaction from that. And we're going to talk college baseball 2 weeks from today. The college baseball season will start for both Clemson and South Carolina. South Carolina is welcoming in Dayton to start the season. The weekend after that, though, it's the annual matchup between the two teams. South Carolina's picked 16th in a couple of polls. Clemson is not ranked. We'll see how that works out for the Tigers. South Carolina should be really good, especially on the mound. You can never have enough pitching in college baseball. We're going to get into that here in the next couple of weeks. Also, we're not that far away from spring practice getting underway. Maybe we'll have a spring game this year that we can go to. I hope they have the spring games on separate weekends so I can go to South Carolina's and go to Clemson's. A lot of times they'll have it on the same day. That doesn't work. So we got all kind of stuff we're planning here to follow on the rundown. The Masters, all kind of stuff. So stick with us, all right? And we'll get ready because before long, we'll be talking about ACC kickoff, and Lawton Swan and I'll actually get to see him there. Well, actually, because he has to go to Charlotte. Yeah, that's going to happen. We'll see how that works out. Speaking of Lawton Swan, he's up next with Clemson Sports Talk.
Stop looking at me, Swan.
Yes, be sure to check out his show. He's got all kinds of good programming for you this afternoon right here on Fox Sports Radio 1400. My name is Rob Sanders. I will see you on Monday. Follow me on Twitter at RobSoundsGood. I will be tweeting during the Super Bowl and throughout the weekend. We will see you on Monday. Appreciate you guys, man. See you later on.